Thank you very, very, very much for joining us right here at the Frat House for our 103rd straight week, brought to you by Frat House Sports with Frat House Mike and Sidekick. How you doing this week?
Good.
Doing good? We got an observer tonight.
Yes.
You know? And we don't get that very often. We appreciate that.
The boss is in the house.
The boss is here. So we appreciate that. Nick, sit there, shut up, don't say a word, and we'll
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So, listen, just before we got on the air here, I was checking the NFL preseason records. Your Rams are 0-2. Are you nervous, huh?
No.
Oh, okay. Concerned?
Preseason don't mean anything.
Yeah, you're going to go 0-3. You know, you're playing the Broncos this week. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we will be talking a bit of football this evening.
It's preseason.
Yes, exactly. I know. During our new and very popular 4 minutes of football segment.
You know, I'm not like the Cowboys who, after winning a game, are dating
I know.
themselves the Super Bowl champs for this year.
And we were just talking about a pre-show about the Philadelphia Eagles fans who are just out of their mind as well.
Yeah.
But listen, we've got a packed program here this evening, and we need to get right to it. And we're going to start it off as we usually do. We saw the race this last Sunday up at Michigan International Speedway.
Yep.
23rd race of the season with just 4 remaining, including last week's. And what a wild one it actually was, with 9 cautions, average speeds of nearly 145 miles per hour, and 20 lead changes. Kurt Busch certainly appeared to have one of the better cars, if not the best car on the track, as he led 43 of the 200 laps. But it's not very often we actually get to sit here and say, well, the pole leader actually took the checkered, but Joey Logano did exactly that, as he led 50 of the 200 laps on his own. Others who came in the top 5 included Kevin Harvick in second. Kurt Busch, with that strong showing, as I pointed out, came in third. Paul Menard got a 4th. There's a name we don't mention very often. But this one we do, and that's Mr. Consistent. Clint Boyer got another 5th. With such a bad day from Kyle Busch, one might have thought that perhaps maybe the leaderboard today would look a little bit different. But not at all. Jimmy Johnson still leads the pack, albeit he gave up a few of his lead points with that engine failure and that 40th place finish last weekend. Clint Boyer, though, picked up some ground on him in his second place position. Carl Edwards stays in at number 3. And, well, same for Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch, 4 and 5.
And that's after Clint Boyer spun.
Yeah.
On the first lap.
On the very first lap, correct. But good recovery there. But with that win by Joey Logano, Sidekick, he's rather quickly made himself somewhat relevant again. And he's kind of changed the conversation, particularly about the wild card positions for the chase as we move closer and closer. What is break us down for that one? Break us down on the leaderboard. Break us down on the wild card. And how does Joey Logano mix it up?
Well, the wild card right now, we've got Casey Kane, who's sitting in 11th.
Right.
And Truex Jr., who's sitting in 12th. Mm-hmm. But in 13th and 14th are Logano and Newman, who both have a win. And they're like 7 points. Logano is 7 points behind Truex. Mm-hmm. And I forget off the top of my head how far Newman is back. But they're in the hunt just as well.
Right.
And the thing what hurt Truex was actually up in, he was 10th.
Right.
And he had the bad race. He dropped 2. He's one of the biggest losers for the week.
Right.
And now he finds himself down into the wild card.
In the wild card, right.
So, but, we still got a couple races.
Now, obviously, Joey Logano, he's talking bravado after the race the other day. There's only 3 races left, Oh, yeah, well, we can get in, I'll just win the next 3. Ha, 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 isn't that funny? But if he wins another one, I mean, he's a lock, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not impossible.
If he can pull off another win, yeah, he's probably locked in, yeah.
It's not impossible. All right. Well, having said that, what are those chances? And, well, we got to go pull our fantasy expert in here because we're going to be heading up to Bristol Motor Speedway, or down to, I guess, Bristol Motor Speedway this coming weekend. Half-tracking it Short tracking it, half mile. Listen, I need your recommendations here because I certainly don't want to get stomped down at Bristol. What do you got for us?
Well, I'm hoping I'm doing a little bit better. The past couple weeks have been a little rough on the old fantasy precautions.
I usually ignore you anyhow, so I'm not worried.
So,
What do you got?
That's not helping you either. So,
No, I know. What do you got for us?
You know. So we're going to go down short track racing in Bristol.
Yep.
Bristol is a rhythm track. You know, you can dive in hard in the corner, sweep into the corners and stuff like that. So plus we're in the chase, it's short track. People's tempers are going to flare.
Oh, you know that.
It's going to be an interesting race because you've got those people that are, you know, fifth down.
Yep. All fighting.
All trying to fight. You know, and then you got a couple guys that are on the bubble that are going to be trying to win a race to try and get into, like Joey Logano,
Right.
to get into the, you know, get into the chase. So we're gonna start off with Mr. Consistency, Mr. Short Track.
Yep.
Clint Boyer. He's finished in the top 5 on every short track this year, and currently is sitting on a 3 consecutive top 10s at Bristol.
Okay.
Excuse me, $27.
Okay.
Then we're going to go throw Casey Kane on there, the winner from the spring race. He's at $25. We're going to throw Paul Menard in there.
Okay.
Paul Menard has 4 top 10 finishes over the last 3 years at Bristol. Then we're going to go with Brian Vickers, who should be riding some momentum due to his new contract.
Announcement, yeah.
Also, he's got 3 consecutive top 10 finishes at Bristol, going for 2050.
Okay.
And my lucky dog goes to Dave Blaney, $675.
Okay. All right, there you have it.
Takes it to $100 even on the roster.
All right. So for all you fantasy folks out there, we got 3 races remaining until the chase. Good luck to you all. Let's go take a look at our Frat House Facebook post of the weekend. For the second week in a row, it's NASCAR related. And we were just talking about this pre-show. I'm not quite sure where this came from. Sidekick, the only thing I can think of is that there must be a heck of a lot of Joey Logano fans out there, because the post that got the most views and the most activity was one that I put up just shortly, I mean almost right after the race had concluded, which was a photo of Logano in the winner's circle accepting his win up there at MIS. That post got close to 1,000 views. I don't know where you all are, but you didn't like the page while you were there. You got to do that the next time. There's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Hit the like button, all right? But no, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Holy smokes, I don't know. I didn't realize there were that many Joey Logano fans out there. I guess we're going to have to start making a note to speak a little nicer about him.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Okay. Hey, before we get off of motorsports, what do you say we go take a look in on drag racing and the NHRA? We haven't looked at that in about 7 weeks. And we just had races going this past weekend out in Brainerd, Colorado. Now, there is one more national race remaining before the NHRA countdown to the championship, which is their equivalent to the chase. And so let's take a look at the current leaderboard, which for the most part is pretty much locked up with regard to the countdown. Over in the Top Fuel Dragster division, somewhat surprising, Sean Langdon sits at the top, 121 points ahead of Spencer Massey. Now, more than likely at this point, David Grubnick's got an outside chance of getting in, but that's outside, along with Brandon Bernstein and Brittany Force, not going to make the countdown at this point. In the funny car division, Matt Hagan is now 124 points ahead of Ron Capps, while Del Worsham still has a chance. Alexis DeJuria, Jeff Aren, and Tony Pedregon will not make the countdown as well. And finally, in Pro Stock, the countdown lineup is set with Mike Edwards leading the pack 150 points over Alan Johnson. Oddly, Erica Anders Stevens sits in the 9th spot, but barring any incredible announcements, isn't running due to a lack of sponsorship. But there she sits. She'll be running this week, I'm being told. Okay. But I think it's race to race at this point. Sitting in the 9th spot, she'll be running the last race of this season. But, well, it's all a big question mark for her with regard to the countdown. Kind of a shame. It really is. But, so one more, as I pointed out, regular season national coming up. Actually, it's next weekend. It'll be the weekend before Labor Day. And listen, we'll be following it through the countdown to let you know where things are going. Alrighty, there you go.
Yep.
Let's take a look at a bit of football.
And now, 4 minutes of football.
On the clock. There you go. There we go. All right, here we go. Now, listen, it was announced yesterday that former Oakland Raiders punter Ray Guy has been placed on the Pro Football Hall of Fame ballot again, this time for the 8th time. And this time under special consideration as a senior committee nominee. Guy has been on the ballot 7 times before between 1992 and 2008. I got a question for you real quick. Doesn't there come a point when you just say enough is enough? I mean, now we're making special considerations for him to get in. What's your thinking on this one?
I don't know. I don't understand it. I think he's a great guy.
Oh. Should have gotten in a long time ago.
I really don't understand what the whole deal is
Why
with
do
the
we have
snubbing of punters or special teams for that matter into the hall.
All right, so you
they
sound
play
like
on the team. You can't play without them. So why can't they be in there?
So you're making the same argument Ray's been making for years, that he's been getting snubbed because of that.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, there were numerous articles. Let me move ahead here. There were numerous articles released yesterday, speculation about the upcoming NFL contract with DirecTV regarding their Sunday ticket package. Apparently, the NFL has had conversations with the top brass over at Google and YouTube, with the possibility of YouTube bringing live football events at some point in the future. Intriguing concept, but it's in the future, right? I mean, and not in the very near future, right? This isn't happening anytime soon.
Well, the contract's through 2014.
Right.
With DirecTV.
But that's next year.
Right. And now...
So one would assume that they have to sign with YouTube's not going to be ready to go with anything.
I don't know. But see, here's the thing with YouTube. You know, with the Sunday package, because we get it here at the Frat House. I get it at home because, we're football nuts. Yeah, I watch it on my tablet when I'm here because we've got all the other TVs. I watch my Rams and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I can't really see it, somebody sitting at a computer to watch a football game.
You got Google TV, you got Apple TV. I mean, there could be things that could change that. My thinking is the infrastructure and the ability to live stream effectively enough for the fan base to be satisfied with it. That's where I'm concerned.
What I think the NFL should do is they should take a note out of Apple's book. Because remember, the iPhone when it first came out was only on AT&T.
Right.
And then they finally opened it up where now it's on all these other carriers. I think the NFL should go Comcast, the Time Warners,
Right. You're right.
Open it up.
You're right. All right, last but not least, respected analyst Ron Jaworski appeared on Mike and Mike yesterday morning and sounded an alarm about Washington Redskins QB RG3, saying, quote, "I didn't see the clean mechanics I've seen in the past. I'm not a doctor, but he just looks a little different right now. I'm just saying from my eye, I didn't see the clean drops. His mobility has always set him apart, and I'm not sure where his mobility is going to be." Okay, now, question for you. If RG3 struggles getting back to his previous form, might that be the X factor that leaves this NFC wide open and NFC East wide open and up for grabs?
Well, by that, you're inferring then that if RG3 comes back...
I think you would have to say they're absolutely one of the favorites along with the Giants.
Right. There's a couple things going with RG3. He's coming back from the injury. We're talking about sophomore slump, probably.
Right.
I don't see him... I don't think we're going to see the same RG3 we saw last year.
I would agree with you. Who do you think takes the East at this? Who would be the favorite in your mind to take the East?
flip a quarter.
It's got to be the Giants, don't you think?
No, I don't think now. You might. I know you're on the Eli bandwagon.
Stop!
But I'm not. No, I think. Honest to God, I think it's up for grabs. You flip a quarter. I think it's anybody's game.
Interesting.
I think, as much as the Dallas fans are all talking about hooting and hollering, they're going to be. Super Bowl
that's
champs,
ridiculous.
That I think the Cowboys could have a legitimate run for the East. I really think it's kind of up in the air. I don't see anybody from the East going in.
So you're saying it is up for grabs?
I think
It's up for grabs right now.
Yeah.
Forget RG3. Gotcha. All right. Alrighty. All right. Well, with just about 5 weeks remaining in the regular season, let's run around the league and run around the bases and take a look at the major league divisions. And I'm gonna throw a little bit of a twist in here tonight because we're gonna start taking a look at wild card teams. Now, over in the American League, the Boston Red Sox are just one game ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays. In the Central, the Detroit Tigers, 5.5 games now ahead of the Cleveland Indians. And in the West, the Texas Rangers are still 2 games in front of the Oakland A's. Now, currently in the wild card race, American League is a lot more interesting, in my opinion, than the National. The 2 top spots right now would go to the Tampa Bay Rays and the Oakland A's. But you cannot rule out at this point yet the Cleveland Indians, Baltimore Orioles, and the New York Yankees, all still in the mix. In the National League, the Atlanta Braves, the best team in baseball, are still 15 games in front of the Washington Nationals. In the Central, the Pittsburgh Pirates stay just 1 game now ahead of your St. Louis Cardinals. And in the West, the Los Angeles Dodgers are 8.5 games in front of the Diamondbacks. In the wild card conversation in the NL, as I pointed out, not quite as interesting. The top 2 currently are your Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds. Interestingly, 3 teams potentially coming out of the Central Division.
That's where the party is.
You got it. Really, when you take a look at the standings, the only other team that possibly could mess that up at this point right now are the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 8 games, still 8 games out of the wild card consideration and conversation. All right?
See you next season, Arizona.
Yeah, I hear that. All righty. Okay, my pages got mixed up here. Thank you very much. There we go. Got it. All right, we're going to take a look at our screwy stories of the week in a couple of moments. There's something, though, that I need to kind of sound off about this evening because it's something rather, well, near to my heart. Last Friday, the Philadelphia Phillies committed what I considered to be the most classless act I have seen from that organization in the 45 years I've been following. They, and more specifically, the general manager, Ruben Amaro Jr., fired Charlie Manuel, their winningest manager in franchise history, with just 42 games remaining in the season. After 5 straight National League East titles from 2007 to 2011, 2 National League pennants, and a World Series championship in 2008, their first in 28 years, the grandfatherly, affable, lifelong baseball man was unceremoniously told to hit the bricks. The very afternoon the club had scheduled to recognize and celebrate his milestone 1,000th managerial win just 4 days prior. Now, let me be very, very honest. I was not enamored when Charlie Manuel came to town in 2005 for a couple of reasons. The biggest of those was that he was replacing one of our own, Larry Boa. The second was, as many in this fan base, I viewed Manuel as, look, let's be honest, kind of a slow-thinking, dim-witted hayseed who just wasn't going to fit into our parochial, schizophrenic, blue-collar, metropolitan sports environment. But like everyone else, Charlie grew on me. Now everybody in the fan base could see the handwriting on the wall. The team was dramatically declining over the past 2.5 seasons. Manuel was operating on the last year of his contract with no talk of an extension. The club had brought up Hall of Fame second baseman Ryan Sandberg up to the team and to become the team's bench coach. It was obvious Sandberg would be taking over the reins of this team next season. And as fans, we were okay with that. For one, I'm going to be honest, I was looking forward to it. I've always been a big Ryan Sandberg fan. I think he's got tremendous upside, and as a manager for my team, I want him to succeed. So no surprise that last Friday, the general manager appointed Sandberg the new interim manager, claiming that he felt the timing was right to see what the new manager might be able to do with the quote-unquote final meaningful games. What he might be able to do? What the hell does it matter? This team was 20 games out of first place. Amaro, that's the most ridiculous thing I have heard, and the vast majority of intelligent fans in this region knew right then and there when we heard it that you were full of bubble wrap.
Bubble wrap?
Bubble wrap. This move serves absolutely no purpose. There was no need to put the team, the fans, and this dedicated manager through this drama. What would have been more appropriate would have been to hold a press conference with Charlie present, announce the manager would move on at the conclusion of the season, and allow the most effective Phil's manager to go through the remainder of the season in a quote-unquote farewell tour. That would have been more appropriate. Instead, Amaro, you unilaterally decided to strip this 70-year-old man of his decency and his pride. And you did it in the worst way possible. You did it publicly. The contrary picture has been that of Manuel, who has been a role model for class. He sat through the press conference with Amaro by his side. He was jovial, humorous, yet with just a bit of anger and bitterness. And that from a fan base is forgivable. What Amaro, as a made man, a longtime Philly himself, who grew up as a youngster running around the field and clubhouse at Veterans Stadium did, was not forgivable. Amaro, you better watch your back. You broke a big rule. You think you might be Teflon, but you just made a made man himself.
Well, and to actually go a little bit farther about Charlie and his class.
Yes.
The day after, he was at a signing.
Isn't that wonderful? At Granite Run Mo. Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Went out.
Jovial, sitting there, signing stuff. You know, didn't cancel, didn't, you know.
Yep. He's made a number
Meanwhile,
of appearances.
that Ruben, you know, because you're going to say bubble wrap, so I'll drop the bombs. I can't wait for the day that ass gets fired, because he's the reason the team is in decline. It's not Charlie.
I couldn't agree with
Ruben's
you
out
more.
there spending all the money like he's got a blank checkbook, just writing checks like I write papers.
I don't want to see you, I don't want to hear you, and I don't want to smell you.
I'm sorry.
Now leave.
The guy should have got fired is Mr. Smiley there, Ruben. So,
The Frat House has certainly had a weigh in on this one tonight.
It's time again for Frat House Mike's Screwball Stories.
Oh, boy.
now we're done screwing. Let's get to the screwball story.
Okay, let's turn it a bit lighter with our the screwy stories of the week. Oh, boy, I'm not sure if I can go on. Listen,
Hey, Doc, how come you're so cantankerous today?
how quickly things can change, over the course of, 2/3 of a season. The Los Angeles Angels were a team that back in February, I had projected to win the American League and go to the World Series. Yes, I know. Laugh now. To give you an idea how bad things have gotten for this club, on Monday, they placed their number one shortstop, Eric Ibar, an often valued pitcher, Jason Vargas, on waivers. Now, to the best of my knowledge, to this minute, there's been no movement on either player. However, the mere fact that the team would even make these moves, I think, speaks volumes. Currently, the Angels are in fourth place in the West, 18.5 games out of first place. Is this an anomaly? I mean, when you think about it, is it an anomaly?
My favorite Angel
I know. Albert is out for the season.
out for the rest of the
Out
season.
for the season. Do you think it's an anomaly, or is this just chemistry issues? Are they going to get their act together next year?
No, I'm sorry. This is karma. You can't buy a championship.
I should have known better than to ask.
I'm sorry. You can't buy championships.
Well, we've seen other teams do it. All right, listen, a fairly recent sports statistical phenomenon have been power rankings. We see them now all the time for all of our sports. In fact, even this season, they've been reporting power rankings in NHRA drag racing.
Hey, don't forget my cheerleader power rankings coming up.
You
once
do
the
those,
season-
yeah, you
once
do
the
those.
season
There you go.
starts, we're going to have the
Okay.
cheerleader power rankings.
Well,
Come
this
on now.
week comes ESPN Paul Lucas's power rankings of Major League Baseball uniforms. The top 5 were ranked. Number 1, St. Louis Cardinals. 2, Chicago Cubs. 3, Oakland Athletics. 4, Philadelphia Phillies. And 5, Los Angeles Dodgers.
And what was this based on?
Paul Lucas. The
I mean,
bottom
What
5.
it is what it is.
Right.
The bottom 5 were number 28, Washington Nationals. 27 was the Arizona Diamondbacks. I could see that. 28, Cleveland Indians. I guess they just don't like the Indian face thing. 29, Miami Marlins. Well, not surprising.
Say no more.
And 30, San Diego Padres. Yes, with those camouflage ugly things that they wear every once in a while. But nonetheless, personally, I think Paul Lucas has way too much time on his hands and needs to get out of the basement of his mother's house.
Apparently.
This year's phenom, Los Angeles Dodgers outfielder Yasiel Puig. Well, he's had himself a couple of really bad weeks. A couple of weeks ago, he was arrested in Chattanooga, Tennessee for speeding, reckless driving, and failure to provide proof of insurance. Then he was reported to have gone into a clubhouse after a game and shouted at the top of his lungs, "F the media." Except he didn't say F, he said, well, what you said before.
Somebody's got to say it. I'm sorry.
The problem, of course, was that the clubhouse was full of members of the media. He was benched the other day for showing up 35 minutes late for work. Now, obviously, his reputation is preceding him. Coming off of the one-game punishment that he had the other day, Puig struck out on Monday in the 5th inning of the Dodgers-Marlins game. He didn't agree with the call. And, well, as we've seen many, many players do, he rolled his eyes while stepping out of the batter's box. And he was making his way back to the dugout, and he was at the top of the stairs leading down to the dugout when umpire John Hirschbeck ripped off his mask and began jawing at Puig in an obvious attempt to provoke an angry response. Now, somewhere or another, that just seems to be a bit unfair. Obviously, Hirschbeck knows the deal. He knows that the guy has had a bad couple of weeks. He knew he probably had his shirt fused. And, you know, to me, it just seems a bit unfair if players are told, hey, respect the umpires, shut your mouth, don't argue with them, then the umpires shouldn't be provoking either. But it just kind of capped off what has been a rather bad couple of weeks for Yasiel Puig. Get your act together there, buddy. And
Sounds like success is starting to go to his head a little bit.
well, it's possible. I mean, you know, there have been a lot of talk about his maturity issues and what have you. I think, he's only 22, I believe. I think he's 22 years old. So, all right.
Still.
All right. Well, there's our lively, entertaining show for this week.
And colorful.
With some new things. New things. We had some new things in this week's show.
Yes. New things.
Now, before we close it out, though, let's get around and let's give a big, big thanks to our folks over at CLW83.com, Jim and Carl. Carl was in touch with me today, and in fact, well, starting with our beginning of our 3rd year, our 2nd anniversary show, which is just in 2 weeks from tonight, we will have our own permanent place on the CLW83 website.
Nice.
And that's going to be there, and you'll always
Maybe
be able to
not
find
after
us.
tonight.
Yeah. All right, but we'll be there, over there. So thank you very much to you guys, Jim and Carl. We appreciate that tremendously. All right, and as I just pointed out, we do have our 2nd anniversary show coming up in 2 weeks, and so keep checking us out over on FratHouseSports.net. And 2 weeks from now, well, all kinds of new announcements and big things coming. All right? All right. There you have it. That's our show for this week. One more thing I need you to do. You know what it is. You got to keep us real, you got to keep us live, you got to keep us going. We'll see you next week.
And so who are we thanking?
We're going to thank Bernie's Bubble Wrap from Trooper, Pennsylvania, for sponsoring the show this week. Bernie's Bubble Wrap.
Bernie's.
Bernie's Bubble Wrap.
Why can't it be Bob's? Brad's?
Because Bob
Bernie's.
ain't there no more. Bernie.
Bernie, okay.
Bernie called Bob a bubble wrap tard, and Bob left.
Okay. Sure.
What you do to your elbow?
Bubble wrap.
I thought you were right-handed.
Bubble wrap.
Did they let you use bubble wrap when you're training, when you practice? Bubble wrap.
No,
Get you
I
back in
can't
the
use
gym.
bubble
Get
wrap.
you back in the gym.
Can't use bubble wrap on it. It was
Somebody give me a Budweiser.
It was from popping all the bubble wrap.
You get the carpal tunnel.
I got the bubble wrap elbow.
That's carpal tunnel. That's tennis elbow or bubble wrap elbow. Now what I just did here, I popped one of his bubble wrapping beers, and he's giving me the stink eye over here.
Drink it already.
You couldn't find Blatz or something, a step above red, white, and blue beer with the strange white crap floating in the bottom that everybody complained about? You can't find that?
It's bubble wrap beer.
They're not a sponsor, right?
No.
This sucks.